Okay guys, so I know a lot of you out there have really big goals and aspirations and things you want to achieve, but you just feel as though you cannot really get there. And if that's you, you need to listen very closely to this video, because in today's video I'll be talking about dopamine detox and how it personally changed my life and how I use it for myself to fuel all of the areas in my life that I want to make progress in. So let me tell you the first thing that most people get wrong. So most people think that they're actually missing energy or discipline or systems to actually go ahead and achieve their goals. And let me tell you something, they're absolutely wrong. What these people are missing is actually focus. Because in today's world, you know it yourself, we're scrolling on social media mindlessly every single day. We have all these distractions going on around us, may it be your iPhone that's going off, your Apple Watch with the notifications, people wanting to talk to you. We have all these different things that are robbing us of our focus. And focus is what it really needs for us to build something and to get from one place to the other. And I feel like that most people don't even understand that their focus is absolutely gone. So today I want to talk about dopamine detox and how I use it to basically leverage my time and work less while achieving more. Because really what people need is not the next system, not the next pill to take to have more focus or something like this. People just need to get their baseline up and make sure that they're actually in control of their focus and nobody else is able to rob them of that focus. So the system that I use for dopamine detox, as I said, is going for 7 days, and there are a few factors that are non-negotiables for me that I do during my dopamine detox that I'm asking you to do if you feel like you're the person I just talked about. Because to be honest, the opposite of focus is distractions. So if we are able to cut out all the distractions, we're basically left with focus. And that should be our baseline. And that's what we're trying to do within these 7 days of dopamine detox. And now I'm going to get into my non-negotiable for these 7 days. So non-negotiable number 1 for me is 1 to 2 hours of screen time a day. I'm saying 1 to 2 hours because for some of you it will be the case that you actually need your phone, you're kind of making money on it or something. But for me it really helps to basically take everything that I do on my phone, put it onto my MacBook, and to put my phone away. I never have my phone in my office, at least I try. That's really something that makes a huge difference for me. So for the next 7 days, I want you to try and have your screen time as low as 1 to 2 hours every single day. To do that, it's actually pretty simple. You know, you just put your phone away, put it in airplane mode, and my friends that are close to me, they know that you can basically never call me because my phone is either on Do Not Disturb or it's on airplane mode. So I'm like, you know, it's very hard to reach me besides, you know, WhatsApp messages. So that's one of the biggest factors that's gonna basically reset your dopamine level to a healthy level because it strips you of all of this distraction. If you are able to dial that back to 1 to 2 hours a day, then you're making very big steps. The second non-negotiable for me is no substances of all sorts. And for me personally, I mean things like coffee, I mean things like snooze, if you take that. Any sort of substances that can spike your dopamine, you should avoid them 100%. If your baseline is here, you will get a dopamine spike from drinking coffee, for example. Your dopamine goes up here, but after it falls down, it goes back below your baseline. And that's what makes people addicted, basically, you know? And coffee is almost a miracle drug. I think there's no real downside to coffee, but in this week we want to really focus on getting our dopamine level as low as, or like as close to a natural level as possible. And so we just want to eliminate everything that basically interrupts that. My non-negotiable number 3 is kind of a controversial one, but I know a lot of you guys struggle with it. And I'm not afraid to say that I struggled with it for some time as well, which is adult films. And it's a topic that is not really spoken about by a lot of people, but since I have stopped watching these things, my life has improved tenfold. Like, it's quite hard to imagine for me to go back, because like I feel so much better, because you know, doing what you do when you watch these videos, it doesn't feel right, because it gives you a false sense of having accomplished something. So And also it spikes your dopamine levels to extremely high levels. I think there are studies talking about that actually increases your dopamine levels more than cocaine, which is kind of incredible. So we want to get that down to zero, or if you want to still do it for whatever reason, then, stay away from these movies and use your imagination. For non-negotiable number 4, you shouldn't watch YouTube for these 7 days. And there's a lot of good information on YouTube, but for the most part, what people do is they actively procrastinate. And you're watching videos about whatever, self-help, anything like that. You're watching podcasts, it might be a net positive, but it's keeping you away from working, and working is what you should really do. If you want to achieve your goals, then work should be in priority number 1. And watching a podcast about the next biohacking drug, whatever, it's not going to change your life. You should get back to work and forget YouTube at least for a week. And after I explained you number 5 of my non-negotiables, I will go over to my MacBook and I will show you my YouTube settings and some of the tools that I personally use to decrease distraction and to increase focus as a default. So stay until the end to see all of that. Non-negotiable number 5, and one of the most important ones actually, is 10 minutes of meditation every single day. And to me personally, meditation has just increased in importance over the last few years. I feel like when I started, which is around 2023, I guess, I started and my dopamine levels compared to now were still extremely good. And I feel like as though nowadays we are so distracted, there's so much going on in our lives. We are addicted to our screens, and especially Instagram. I think it's the worst app on the internet. It's like a blessing in disguise, There's so much good you can do with Instagram, but there's also so much mental destruction within Instagram itself that you should really avoid that stuff. And meditation is something that really teaches us to get our mind to a state where you're able to, or you're actually training yourself in the meditation to block incoming thoughts. And that's everything you have to do. So you will do 10 minutes of meditation every single day. And what I want you to do in these 10 minutes of meditation is just to sit, you have your eyes closed, you take a few big deep breaths, and you're just trying to think about nothing. And you will notice within the first seconds that there are thoughts coming into your head. And what I want you to try is to eliminate every thought and push it away as fast as you can. And what you're doing there is basically just training your mind to basically focus on that one thing, which is meditation, and think about nothing, and pushing away all these thoughts that are coming in. Because that's exactly the same what happens during work. You're working, you're focused, and then there's a notification. Then there's some message, then there's your phone buzzing, then there's some idea that you're having, someone that wants to talk to you, whatever. And what you're basically training yourself with meditation is to block these thoughts out and to focus on what's really important. And I cannot stress enough how important that is. And especially in today's day and age, if you struggle with Instagram and if your screen time is very high on Instagram, I would actually encourage you to do more than 10 minutes. Because people say if you cannot do 10 minutes of meditation, then you have to do 30. And I really think that that's very true. But for me personally, I like to do it as simple as possible, 10 minutes a day. And I can actually recommend you to do it even after these 7 days, just to, you don't want to lose your focus again. So you can do all of these things, so you can do all of these 5 things that I just mentioned for basically forever. If you want it to be a habit of yours, then do it for 3 weeks. So for me personally, I do most of these things extremely regularly, just to keep my mind from, distractions. So these were my 5 non-negotiables for my dopamine detox. And now I'm going to jump in back there to my MacBook, and I'm going to show you some of my settings, some of the tools and apps that I use to basically decrease distractions and to get back to a healthy level of dopamine and basically have a better focus. So let's jump right into my MacBook.
All right, we are on my home screen and I want to show you something that I personally use, which is called Unhook. And I already have it installed on my Arc browser that I'm using. And so what it basically does is it makes your YouTube look like this. Everything here is empty. My homepage is empty. And I can basically go here in my plugins basically and toggle what I want to see, what I want this thing to hide basically. And I almost have everything hidden. Like for me, the most important part is that I don't see any videos on the home screen, because that if I open YouTube, you know that you just don't know what to do really. You just open YouTube, it doesn't show me anything. So that already removes a lot of distraction. And I felt like this really helps me. So that's number one of the tools that I use. And so now on my home screen, you can basically see that I keep it extremely simple. For my home screen, basically all I have on here is a clock for some reason. I don't even know why, I don't really use it. And besides that, I have my vault where I basically put all the stuff and the clutter that's on my MacBook, just to keep it away from like the homepage. Then I have some other stuff that's just like for some podcasting stuff, and most importantly my SBA sheet, which I'm reading every single day, just like for my goals and all that stuff. And as for the apps, I'm using the Arc browser, which basically is Chrome on steroids. Then I have my Notion calendar just for me basically to keep up all my stuff. Everything's getting booked into there. It's hooked up to my business, to my Calendly, to my Apple Calendar. Very simple. Then I have WhatsApp, which is WhatsApp Business. Very helpful. I have WhatsApp Business and the usual WhatsApp. So I have the WhatsApp Business on here, and I use WhatsApp Web on the Arc browser basically. Then I have Slack for team communication and some automations that we are running within the company itself. And obviously in the notes, which every high performer knows, you don't need a fancy notes app. You don't need a fancy, system like Notion. I just keep all my notes in here. I can easily search up some stuff and I'm basically able to find it. Next up, I have Spotify. Sometimes I'm listening to stuff when I'm working. Usually I prefer silence, to be honest. When I'm working, I feel like it just distracts you a lot when you're listening to some stuff while you're actually working. Then one of the most important parts is my toolbar up here. So what do we have here? That's my home control. That's my monitor control. That's music. Very important. Everybody should use Flux or Flux or however you want to call it. What this thing does is basically you can have different settings for your monitor. I'm not even sure if you can see it now if I change it, for example, but it basically turns my monitor into a red light display. So I have 3 different settings: daytime, which is the normal setting, which I also use for color grading when I'm color grading some of the footage or YouTube videos. Then I have the sunset, which sets around, when the sun sets, depends. And then the bedtime setting, which sets, I think it's around like 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. or something. So that's very important for me because it just automatically sets up my display for me to be able to sleep well, and I don't even have to think about anything. So that's Flux. I think it's like $3 or something, so everybody should get it. Then I have this tool called, what is it called? I think it's called Magnet. But basically what it does, if I were to open Spotify, I can just I can arrange my tabs as I want it. So there's a lot of different options, but it automatically sizes my tabs if I put them to any corner. So for example, if I put it here, then it automatically makes it big. If I take it back, then it makes it small again. Pretty important for me as well. Then the rest is it. I delete every single thing in here that I don't need, that I don't use. So yeah, basically that's it for the setup on the computer. So as you can see, everything is extremely clean. I try to keep just all the distractions away. Basically, my MacBook is very clean. My phone screen is very clean as well. As you can see, for example, here, if you can see it, there's nothing really on there besides the basic stuff that I need. I have my screen time right here. I have some of the most important apps that I need. And then what I do is I have something here that's called airplane mode, which basically turns off. Let me just fix that. Right, that work. So that basically turns off all the data. Yeah, let's do it like this. So that turns off all the data, and it doesn't also have it grayed out as you have it sometimes. And the other thing that I have is a sleep button, where it turns the brightness all the way to the lowest. Now you can barely even see my screen, but it's basically turning red and turns the brightness to as low as possible, which I use in the evening. So my MacBook turns red, my phone turns red and all the distractions are gone basically. And actually I'm going to show you my work desk setup as well, so you guys can basically see how it looks from my perspective. Alright, so this is my work setup basically. I have one monitor, which is like a widescreen curved monitor that I'm using for years now actually. I have my Shure SM7B, which is definitely something of a overkill for, yeah, I mean everything basically. Then I have my MacBook. I usually have it in a stand, I don't have it right now. Then there's my journal basically. I'm using the Apple thing and some super weird looking mouse, but it kind of works for me. Then I have my timer basically, which I stole from Alex Hormozy. You can just turn it and set like some time on it. Then there's my to-do system that I got gifted from a friend, which is super useful. I use it every single day to write my to-dos for the next day. A plant, my coffee mug, some water. That's about it. It's very clean. I try to keep as little stuff on there as possible. I have everything mounted under here basically. That's my interface for the microphone, which is perfectly tucked in under here with this mount that I bought for it. I have my headphones under here that I'm barely using. And basically all the other stuff, like the cables, is tucked under here. And there's just this one cable that's going from the power supply here, going right into the wall basically. And yeah, to be fair, that's kind of the setup I've been using for the last few years, and it really worked well for me. I'm not a fan of having like 2 monitors or like some fancy, I don't know, like keyboard or anything like that. I think it should be as simple and as clean as possible, so you can, sit down and focus on what's important and get your work done. And so, yeah, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.